The snowflakes danced in the frosty air, their delicate forms shimmering under the moonlight as they gently kissed the ground. It was Christmas Eve, a night when the veil between the ordinary and the extraordinary seemed to thin, and the world held its breath in quiet anticipation. In the small town of Willowmere, nestled in a valley of snow-capped pines, the streets were hushed, save for the faint hum of distant carolers. Amid the stillness, a figure cloaked in crimson and mystery moved with quiet purpose, his presence unnoticed by all but the stars above. Bill Gates, known to the world as a titan of innovation, had abandoned his familiar persona for one far removed from boardrooms and headlines. Draped in the guise of Santa Claus, he walked the cobblestone streets with a bag slung over his shoulder, its contents heavy with more than just gifts. His mission was not one of spectacle or recognition but of quiet, heartfelt connection. Tonight, he sought to bring light to those whose lives had been dimmed by hardship, to remind them that even in the coldest winters, warmth could be found. As he approached a modest home with peeling paint and a sagging porch, he noticed the faint glow of a single candle flickering in the window. The house seemed to lean into the wind, weathered but resilient, much like its inhabitants. A soft knock on the door brought forth a boy no older than 10, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Santa?" Bill knelt to meet his gaze, his twinkling eyes betraying a kindness that transcended the disguise. "I've come to bring a little magic to your Christmas," he said, offering the boy a wrapped parcel. Inside, the boy found a hand-carved wooden train, its craftsmanship intricate and timeless. But it wasn't the gift itself that mattered, it was the note tucked alongside it, a message of hope that spoke directly to the struggles his family faced. "This train is strong, just like you," it read. "Even when the tracks seem broken, it finds a way forward." The boy clutched the train tightly, his expression shifting from surprise to a quiet determination that seemed to fill the room. As the night unfolded, Bill visited home after home, each encounter revealing stories of resilience and longing. A young girl wished for her father's safe return from distant shores. An elderly woman, alone for the first Christmas in decades, found solace in a heartfelt letter tucked into her gift. Each act of kindness became a thread in a tapestry of hope, binding the town together in ways unseen but deeply felt. And as the first rays of dawn began to gild the snow, Bill's journey came to an end, his heart heavier with the weight of their stories but lighter with the knowledge that he had made a difference. In the days and years to come, the people of Willowmere would speak of that Christmas Eve, of the mysterious figure who left more than gifts in his wake. They would remember the warmth of his presence, the quiet strength of his words, and the way he seemed to understand their struggles without needing them to explain. And though the snow would eventually melt and the seasons would change, the spirit of that night would linger, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and the unseen magic that binds us all. The story unfolds in a sprawling archipelago called Vareth, a world where towering crystal spires pierce the skies and glowing bioluminescent plants illuminate the nights. The islands are connected by shimmering bridges of light, remnants of an ancient civilization that vanished centuries ago. The seas surrounding the islands are alive with mysterious creatures, some benevolent, others deadly. The air hums with latent magic, a force that has become unpredictable and dangerous since the fall of the old world. The people of Vareth live in scattered enclaves, clinging to the remnants of forgotten knowledge while fearing the wild, untamed magic that threatens their fragile existence. The central figure is Kale, a young scavenger who ekes out a living by exploring the ruins of the lost civilization. Kale is resourceful and fiercely independent, his hands scarred from years of tinkering with ancient artifacts. Haunted by the disappearance of his older sister, Lyra, Kale is driven by an obsessive need to uncover the secrets of the past, believing they hold the key to finding her. His closest companion is Ashen, a sentient, shape-shifting creature made of liquid metal, who was awakened by Kale during one of his expeditions. Ashen is both a protector and a puzzle, harboring fragmented memories of the old world. Opposing Kale is Ceres, a charismatic but ruthless leader of the Order of the Veil, a faction that seeks to control the volatile magic of Vareth. Saris believes that harnessing this power is the only way to restore stability, even if it means sacrificing lives. Her motivations are rooted in a tragic past, having lost her family to a magical storm. She views Kale as a dangerous rogue whose meddling threatens to unleash chaos. As the story begins, Kale discovers a map leading to a hidden island said to house a device capable of stabilizing the world's magic. Saris, learning of Kale's discovery, sets out to capture him, sparking a high-stakes race that will determine the fate of Varith. On Christmas Eve, disguised as Santa Claus, Bill Gates secretly visited struggling families, delivering not just gifts but hope and compassion. A young girl's wish for her mother's happiness moved him deeply, inspiring him to leave behind not only treasures like a golden locket but also messages of resilience. Through these acts, he sparked a ripple of love that would endure for years. The small coastal town of Windmere buzzed with the energy of the annual Lantern Festival preparations. For siblings Clara and Ethan, it was more than just a celebration, it was their chance to finally restore their late father's legacy. Their father, a renowned inventor, had left behind a mysterious blueprint for a device he claimed could harness the ocean's energy. Clara, the pragmatic older sister, saw it as a way to bring sustainable power to the town, while Ethan, the dreamer, viewed it as a tribute to their father's vision. Their shared goal was clear: complete the device in time to unveil it at the festival. However, the journey was far from smooth. The blueprint was incomplete, and the siblings struggled to decipher their father's cryptic notes. To complicate matters, the town's mayor, Mr. Hargrove, had his own plans for the festival. He intended to announce a lucrative deal with a corporate energy giant, dismissing the siblings' invention as a pipe dream. His dismissive attitude fueled Clara's determination but also sowed seeds of doubt in Ethan, who began to question whether they were chasing an impossible dream. As they worked tirelessly in their father's old workshop, they found unexpected support from Mia, a childhood friend and talented engineer who had just returned to Windmere. Mia's arrival reignited old tensions between her and Clara, who had grown apart over the years, but her expertise proved invaluable. Meanwhile, Ethan struck up an unlikely friendship with Leo, a young fisherman who shared his love for the sea and offered insights into the device's potential applications. Subplots began to weave through their efforts. Clara grappled with her need to control every detail, while Ethan struggled to prove his worth beyond being the dreamer of the duo. Mia's return stirred unresolved feelings, and Leo's presence hinted at secrets tied to the ocean. As the festival loomed closer, the siblings faced mounting pressure, their relationships tested by both external obstacles and their own insecurities. The morning began like any other in the quiet town of Ashgrove. The sun crept over the horizon, casting a golden hue on the cobblestone streets as shopkeepers opened their doors and children hurried off to school. Among them was Clara, a young journalist with a knack for uncovering local mysteries. Her routine was simple: coffee at the corner cafe, a quick scan of the morning news, and then off to the office. But today, something was different. As she sipped her coffee, a man stumbled into the cafe, disheveled and trembling, clutching a small, blood-stained envelope. The man's panicked whispers drew the attention of everyone in the room. He handed the envelope to Clara, muttering, "You're the only one who can help," before collapsing to the floor. Paramedics arrived moments later, but the man was unresponsive, leaving Clara with more questions than answers. Inside the envelope was a single photograph of a crumbling building on the outskirts of town, accompanied by a cryptic note, "They're watching. Don't trust anyone." Her heart raced as she tried to make sense of the message. Who was this man, and why had he chosen her? Clara's instincts kicked in, but the stakes became clear when she noticed two men in dark suits lingering outside the cafe, their eyes fixed on her. They didn't belong in Ashgrove, and their presence sent a chill down her spine. She ducked out the back door, clutching the envelope tightly, and made her way to her office. Her safe, predictable world had been upended in an instant. The urgency of the situation left no room for hesitation. Clara knew she had to act, but the risks were mounting. The photograph and note hinted at a deeper conspiracy, one that could endanger not just her life, but the lives of everyone in Ashgrove. The clock was ticking, and Clara had no choice but to unravel the mystery before it was too late. The snowflakes continued their delicate descent, blanketing the town in a soft glow. Bill, still clad in his Santa disguise, turned down an alleyway where the warmth of the houses gave way to the cold shadows of the less fortunate. Here, the air was heavier, filled with the quiet despair of those who had long stopped believing in miracles. He approached a makeshift shelter constructed of tarps and wooden planks, its edges frayed by the biting wind. A boy, no older than 10, sat outside, his arms wrapped tightly around a scruffy dog for warmth. Bill crouched down, his voice gentle. "Hello there, young man. What's your name?" The boy hesitated before replying, "Eli." His eyes flicked to the bag slung over Bill's shoulder. "Are you really Santa?" Bill smiled, reaching into the bag. "I am tonight. And I think I have something for you." He pulled out a thick woolen blanket and a small tin box. Inside the box was a compass. "The blanket will keep you warm, and the compass will remind you to always find your way, no matter how lost you feel." Eli stared at the gifts, his lips trembling. "Thank you," he whispered. His dog wagged its tail, sensing the kindness in the stranger. Bill patted the boy's shoulder before moving on, his heart heavy yet hopeful. He knew the compass was more than a trinket, it was a message that even those in the darkest corners of life could find direction. As he continued, a new challenge emerged. At the edge of town, he encountered a group of teenagers huddled around a fire. Their laughter was sharp, masking the pain of lives lived on the fringes. One of them, a girl named Mia, eyed Bill suspiciously. "Santa? What are you doing here?" Bill reached into his bag, pulling out a journal and a pen. "For you," he said, handing them to her. "Write your story. Share it with the world. Your voice matters." Mia stared at the journal, her tough exterior cracking for just a moment. "Thanks," she muttered, clutching it tightly. Bill nodded and moved on, the weight of their stories pressing on him. He realized that his mission was evolving. It wasn't just about gifts, it was about planting seeds of hope in barren soil. Near the town square, he noticed a woman sitting alone on a bench, her face illuminated by the faint glow of a lamppost. Her hands clutched a photograph of a man in uniform. Bill approached cautiously, sensing her grief. "May I sit?" She nodded, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. Without a word, he handed her a small candle from his bag. "Light this when you're ready," he said softly. "It's a reminder that even in loss, there's light to be found." As dawn broke, Bill returned to his rented room, exhausted yet fulfilled. He removed the Santa suit, folding it neatly. The town had given him more than he'd brought, it had shown him the resilience of the human spirit. And as he gazed out the window at the snow-covered streets, he knew his journey was far from over. The snowflakes continued their silent descent, blanketing the town in a fragile stillness. Bill Gates, still disguised as Santa, approached his next destination, a dilapidated apartment complex on the edge of town. Inside, a young boy named Lucas waited by the window, his breath fogging the glass as he stared at the falling snow. Lucas, burdened by his father's recent job loss, had spent the past weeks comforting his younger siblings, hiding his own fears about their future. Bill knocked, and when the boy opened the door, his weary eyes lit up with cautious hope. "Santa?" Lucas asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Bill nodded, handing him a small gift. "This is for you, Lucas," he said, his voice steady but warm. Lucas hesitated before unwrapping it, revealing a simple wooden puzzle. Confused, he looked up. Bill leaned closer. "It's more than a toy. Sometimes, solving small pieces can help us see the bigger picture," he explained. Lucas nodded, though his expression betrayed lingering doubt. Bill left, sensing the boy's inner struggle, and made a mental note to return. Meanwhile, across town, a subplot was quietly brewing. A local journalist named Evelyn had noticed the mysterious figure dressed as Santa wandering the streets. Determined to uncover his identity, she followed him from a distance, her camera in hand. Evelyn, driven by her editor's demand for a sensational Christmas story, wrestled with her own doubts. She had once been an idealist, but years of chasing headlines had hardened her. Yet, as she watched Bill interact with the families, something stirred within her, a memory of her own childhood Christmases, when hope felt tangible. The tension escalated when Evelyn accidentally knocked over a trash can, alerting Bill to her presence. He froze, their eyes meeting for a brief moment before she ducked behind a corner. Bill, realizing he was being followed, quickened his pace. He couldn't risk his identity being revealed, the anonymity was part of the magic. Evelyn, however, was undeterred, her curiosity now mingled with an unexpected sense of admiration. As dawn approached, Bill visited his final house, a single mother named Clara who had been struggling to keep her family afloat. Clara's exhaustion was palpable, her holiday spirit buried beneath layers of worry. Bill handed her a small envelope, its contents a prepaid grocery card and a note, * "You are stronger than you know. Keep going." Clara's tears fell freely as she read the message, her heart swelling with a renewed sense of purpose. Unbeknownst to Bill, Evelyn had witnessed the exchange from afar. She lowered her camera, her hands trembling. For the first time in years, she felt a story wasn't hers to tell, it was one to protect. As Bill disappeared into the fading night, Evelyn chose to walk away, her notebook empty but her heart unexpectedly full. The frosty air grew sharper as Bill, still cloaked in his Santa guise, approached the edge of town. His bag was lighter now, but his mind heavier with the stories he had heard. Each home had revealed a new layer of the town's quiet struggles, families holding on to fragments of hope, children wise beyond their years, and parents burdened by invisible weights. Yet, amidst the sorrow, there was a flicker of something else, resilience. It was this resilience that stirred something deep within Bill, a realization that his mission was evolving into something far greater than he'd anticipated. At one particular house, a pivotal encounter awaited. The small, dilapidated structure stood apart from the others, its windows dark and unwelcoming. Bill hesitated before knocking, sensing an air of despair within. The door creaked open to reveal a boy, no older than 10, with hollow eyes that spoke of hardships no child should endure. Santa? Bill had come to expect. Bill knelt to meet his gaze. "Yes, I'm here for you," he replied, handing the boy a wrapped package. The boy didn't open it right away. Instead, he asked, "Why do you do this? No one comes here. No one cares." The question struck Bill like a thunderclap. In that moment, he realized this was more than a question, it was a plea for meaning, for proof that someone, somewhere, still believed in them. "Because everyone matters," Bill said, his voice steady. "Even when it feels like the world has forgotten, someone remembers. Tonight, that someone is me." The boy unwrapped the gift to find a hand-carved wooden star, its edges imperfect but lovingly crafted. Bill explained, "This star is a reminder that even in darkness, there's light. And that light can come from you." For the first time, the boy's lips curled into a faint smile, a fragile but unmistakable sign of hope. As Bill left, the boy's question lingered in his mind. It was a turning point, not just for the boy, but for Bill himself. He realized that his role wasn't just to give, it was to listen, to understand, and to ignite hope where it had all but extinguished. The weight of the night's encounters pressed on him, yet it also fueled a newfound determination. The climax loomed as Bill approached the town's community center, where he had planned his final act of the evening. Inside, families gathered, unaware of the surprise awaiting them. Bill's journey was no longer about the gifts he carried but the connections he had forged. The man who had started the night as a disguised philanthropist was transforming into something more, a bearer of hope, a catalyst for change. The snowflakes continued their silent descent, blanketing the town in a pristine shimmer. Bill, still clad as Santa, paused at the edge of the park, his breath visible in the frosty air. He glanced at the list in his hand, names scrawled in careful detail. Each one represented a child, a family, a story. But one name stood out, circled in red: Elliot. The boy lived on the outskirts of town, in a crumbling house that seemed forgotten by time. Bill had saved this visit for last, sensing it would be the most challenging. As he approached the house, he noticed faint candlelight flickering through the window. He knocked, and the door opened to reveal a wiry boy with sharp, cautious eyes. Elliot didn't smile or gasp like the others. Instead, he crossed his arms and stared. "Santa, huh? What's the catch?" Bill crouched to meet his gaze, his tone gentle but firm. "No catch, Elliot. Just a gift and a little hope." Elliot hesitated before letting him in. The interior was sparse, the walls peeling, the air heavy with unspoken struggles. On the table sat an old photo of a man in uniform, Elliot's father, who had passed away the year before. Bill reached into his bag and pulled out a small wooden box. "This belonged to someone who believed in you," he said, handing it to the boy. Inside was a compass, its needle gleaming. "Your father wanted you to always find your way, no matter how lost you feel." Elliot's tough exterior cracked, his eyes brimming with tears. "Thanks," he whispered, clutching the compass tightly. Bill placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're stronger than you know, Elliot. And you're not alone." As Bill left, he noticed a shadow watching from the trees. It was Marcus, a man he'd helped years ago, now an ally in his secret mission. Marcus nodded in silent acknowledgement before disappearing into the night. Bill smiled faintly, knowing the seeds of kindness he'd sown were beginning to bloom in unexpected ways. The horizon began to glow with the first hints of dawn. Bill's heart swelled with the realization that this was more than a single night of giving, it was a movement. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that something larger loomed ahead, a challenge that would test the bonds he had forged. For now, though, he walked on, the snow crunching beneath his boots, ready to face whatever came next. The snowflakes continued their delicate dance as Bill, still cloaked in his Santa disguise, approached the last house on his list. The night had been long, and though his heart was full, a lingering unease tugged at him. This house, unlike the others, stood in shadows, its windows dark and its yard untended. Rumors had swirled around the family that lived here, a single father, embittered by loss, and his son, withdrawn and angry. Bill hesitated, sensing that this visit would be his greatest challenge yet. He knocked softly, the sound echoing in the stillness. The door opened just a crack, revealing a boy no older than 10. His eyes, sharp and guarded, scanned Bill with suspicion. "We don't need anything," the boy said flatly, starting to close the door. Bill gently placed his boot in the frame, his voice calm yet firm. "Sometimes, what we need most isn't something we can see," he said. The boy hesitated, then stepped aside, allowing him in. Inside, the air was heavy with silence. The father sat slumped in a chair, his face etched with weariness. "What is this?" Bill reached into his bag and pulled out a small, wooden box. "A gift," he said, placing it on the table. "But it's not just for your son. It's for both of you." The man scoffed but didn't stop him. The boy opened the box to reveal a simple, hand-carved figurine of a father and son, standing side by side. A note accompanied it, asterisk: "Even in the hardest times, love remains." The boy's fingers trembled as he held it, and for the first time, his guarded expression softened. The father looked away, his jaw tightening, but his eyes betrayed a glimmer of emotion. As Bill left the house, he felt the weight of the night's journey lift. Each family he had visited carried their own scars, but he had seen how even the smallest acts of kindness could plant seeds of change. The snowflakes kissed his face as dawn broke, and he realized that the true miracle of Christmas wasn't in the gifts themselves, but in the courage to believe in something better, even when it seemed impossible. The snowflakes swirled in the crisp morning air as the town began to stir, unaware of the extraordinary night that had unfolded. Bill, no longer clad in his Santa disguise, stood at the edge of the town square, watching the first rays of sunlight illuminate the modest homes. He felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing his mission had touched lives in ways he could scarcely have imagined. Yet, one final task remained, a confrontation that would test the very heart of his convictions. As he prepared to leave, a man approached him, his face lined with regret and hesitation. It was the father of the young girl he had visited the night before, the one whose wish had pierced through the festive air. The man's eyes were heavy with guilt, his voice trembling as he spoke. "I heard about what you did for my family," he said, his words halting. "I left because I thought I was doing them a favor. But now I see. I was wrong." Bill's gaze was steady, his voice calm but firm. "The greatest gift you can give them is your presence and your effort to make things right. It's not too late, but the choice is yours." The man nodded, his resolve growing as he turned and walked toward the small house where his family waited. Bill watched him go, a glimmer of hope igniting in his chest. As the day unfolded, whispers of the mysterious Santa spread through the town. Families shared stories of the gifts they had received, not just the physical tokens, but the renewed sense of connection and hope. The young girl's mother, upon opening the golden locket, found a renewed strength within herself. She smiled for the first time in months, her daughter's laughter filling the room like a melody. Bill's journey ended not with fanfare, but with the quiet knowledge that change had begun to take root. And now, the call to action lies with us, to carry forward the spirit of compassion, to be the unseen force that uplifts others. Let us be the ones who remind the world that even the smallest gestures can create ripples of love and solidarity. The snow had long stopped falling, but its glistening remnants blanketed the town, reflecting the soft hues of dawn. Bill Gates, now back in his everyday attire, stood quietly at the edge of the town square. He watched as the first stirrings of Christmas morning unfolded, children laughing, parents embracing, and windows glowing with a warmth that transcended the cold. His heart swelled with a sense of fulfillment, not from the act of giving itself, but from the connections he had witnessed and the hope he had helped rekindle. As he reflected on the night's journey, Bill realized how deeply it had changed him. The resilience of the families, the courage of the children, and the unspoken strength in their struggles had reshaped his understanding of generosity. It wasn't about wealth or grand gestures, it was about seeing people, truly seeing them, and meeting them where they were. Each locket, toy, or simple word of encouragement had been a bridge, a way to remind them they were not alone. And in giving, he had received something far greater, a renewed belief in the quiet power of compassion. The following year, Bill quietly expanded his efforts. He created a foundation focused on uplifting communities, ensuring that no child would feel forgotten during the holidays, or any other day. He worked anonymously, letting the spirit of the season, not his name, carry the message forward. The town, unaware of the man behind the red suit, began to weave stories of their mysterious Santa into their traditions, passing down the tale of that magical Christmas Eve. As you celebrate this season, remember the lesson Bill learned: the smallest acts of kindness can ripple outward, touching lives in ways you may never see. Be the spark of hope for someone who needs it, and let the spirit of giving guide your actions, not just during the holidays, but every day. Years later, those children would grow into adults who carried the memory of that night in their hearts. They would become the givers, the dreamers, and the believers, proving that even the smallest gestures can light the way in the darkest times. And so, the legacy of one man's quiet mission lived on, a testament to the enduring power of love and human connection.